Welcome to another exciting episode of Strategy Sunday. We're going to talk about a lot of great subjects. We're going to break down what the Bitcoin halving is going to do. We're going to break down these mining stock plays that we have going on, how we can profit from them, and how we can execute this coming year. So today we have Mark Rogers, head analyst at the CNC. He's been doing a lot of great things, made a lot of people a lot of money. I love doing these sessions with you.
Oh man, it's always lit. I'm glad to be here, man. And it's awesome that we've been investing in these mining companies, right? And I think I found a hidden gem. But before we even get there, man, does anybody realize that MicroStrategy for the third quarter of 2023 bought up 89% of all Bitcoin? And they're ranked, what 1,000?
What period was that in?
And that was from October to December 2023. And the crazy thing is they're ranked 1,453 in the stock market. Imagine what's going to happen with that company the very moment that Bitcoin takes off. All the 1,452 people ahead of them are going to be playing catch up. You know how you talked about in the Strategic Millionaire about being an early adopter? MicroStrategy is way ahead of the game. So I'm going to be watching MicroStrategy, and then the sleeper to all the mining tickers, WIGNY, right? Now this ticker has exposure to CleanSpark, Riot, Mara, Hut, and then there's one secret in there, NVIDIA. And I believe that as soon as this Bitcoin halving takes place, as soon as all the miners really reach their true value and find their next key level of support, WIGNY is going to go to the moon. And I hate saying it like that, but it's true because this company also pays dividends. I think the last dividend was like 5 cents. WGMI is going to be the next thing to watch because it mimics everything that's happened with all the miners. So NVIDIA moves, miners move, it's going to take off.
I like these plays to where we can leverage something that we know or pretty sure that's going to happen. We're able to make a lot more money. The thing about these mining plays that are out there is that we've already seen this happen before. We've seen it happen in 2020. And there's a path that's going to happen for the next year. And if we know the path, it's easier to accept what's going to happen emotionally. Emotions are one of the biggest barriers to trading, is that when people trade emotionally, they lose money because that's what the market wants you to be honest, all of society wants you to be emotional. It's easy to sell you a car when you're emotional, and that emotion is pride, happiness, excitement. It's easy to sell you a life insurance when you're emotional.
Exactly.
Because you're scared. What do they say is the best place that you can sell insurance at is at a funeral.
Yeah.
So everybody's sad. So that's what the entire ad industry is based on, invoking an emotion in you to make a purchase. All of it's based on that. So one of the keys to success is learn to control your emotions, right? So one way we do that is by predicting and understanding what's coming next. Now, Mark talked about mining stocks and what's coming on, but over the next 6 months, we're going to see a bunch of different things that's going to happen. Now, if you've been following me for 3 years, I've already predicted up until now for the last 2 years exactly what was coming. You saw it unfold right in front of you. I'm not a prophet. How do I know that? Because I study history, and history repeats itself over and over and over again. And once you realize that, it's easy to see what's coming next. It's just the pattern playing itself out. So over the next 6 months, we're going to leave accumulation phase and move into markup. Somebody earlier asked me, how do we know which one we're in? You don't know. How do you know when you're clearly into the ocean? If you're 10 yards out, but you don't know when is the point when you're 1 foot into the ocean. There's no clear way to say that because part of it's ocean, part of it's land, it's moving back and forth. It's a fuzzy border. Nobody knows when you're deep into it. I know when I'm 10 to a mile on shore. I know when I'm a mile out to the ocean, but once you get to the barrier, it's very difficult to know which part you're in. And the same thing with these cycles. We don't know which part we're in. We know that it's coming up sometime or we're close to it. We know that as soon as your feet start getting wet, you're close to wherever. I don't know where it's starting, but we're somewhere near it. And that's what we all are moving into markup phase. But what's going to happen with the Bitcoin halving is that's something we talked about with the miners, which is actually going to benefit us. It's called miner capitalization. And what that means is that because of what happens in the Bitcoin mine, Mark, is that what happens to supply?
So they're going to cut the supply in half once the mining takes place.
So what does that do to an inefficient miner? How much money do they make? Half as much as they made before.
They're making a lot up until the halving takes place, and then they're going to hash it and put it back into the company.
So what happens to a lot of the inefficient miners? They give up.
Yeah.
And they quit. And sometimes it causes, that's why Bitcoin, people say, why does it take 3, 4, 5 months after before you see that explosion in the price of Bitcoin? Because the miners start giving up. Because when we cut the supply, if I'm a miner, from one day to the next, I'm making half as many Bitcoins for doing the same amount of work. So now a lot of them give up, the ones that really wasn't that good in the first place. And then what that does is it compounds the success of the ones like you talked about, the more successful ones. They become more powerful, more profitable. They
Right.
became making more money.
That's
Right.
right.
But it's going to be a small period in between that from like maybe March to April, maybe to May, where you may not see much price movement. It's not because the halving didn't work. It's because the miners are giving up.
Yeah, because
And it,
we saw that happen in what, Sphere, any.
yeah,
So they went from trading at what, $13, $14 to now a few cents. So we saw that same thing happen back in 2021. So I think again, market cycles always repeat themselves, and we have to also understand that the market is also continuously manipulated.
that's true. That's what I always say. That's a part of the game, right? You play, who is anybody play even high school basketball, high school sports at all? Everybody cheats in any sport.
Right.
Then you playing the
Some kind of way.
refs. When the refs are on the court, so you could do a foul at a certain angle and they're not going to see it, or push offs or whatever. And it's even it's like accepted in the NBA now. They push off now. They do stuff now in the NBA they would call a foul 10, 20,
Flop.
20 years ago. Even flopping is a way of cheating, right? Is that you're trying to manipulate the ref into believing that you got fouled harder than you did, so you get your 2 free throws. And that's part of the game. So that's now part of in basketball. That's part of it. Is that if you let somebody flop you, you can put you out the game. You get mad at the ref, he flopped and you cry about it, it's not going to change. Unless you're LeBron James, you may get a rule pass, but if you're an average player, they're not going to change the rules because of you. And that's the same way the market is manipulated, is that there's things in the market that really aren't fair. They manipulate news cycles, they manipulate the narrative, but that's part of the game. You can't cry about it. You got to accept it, learn it, and play against it so that you win too.
Is complete risk management. And that could be a number of different things, whether you're dollar cost averaging, whether you're doing nothing, or even if you're taking a little hit. And I think that even in this market, and we have to also keep in mind that this is an election year. So yeah, typically at the beginning of every election year, the first 5 days of the market for that year determines how everything is going to happen for the first quarter.
Good point.
So right now we saw that the market opened extremely bearish at the beginning of this year. So there are three scenarios to play out, right? Either one, it stays completely bearish. Two, it's flat, or we see a 10% correction from where we are right now. And usually after that process, it starts going right back up.
And we're talking about the stock market.
We're talking about the stock market right now. So even though the miners may be moving right now, the market is not going to evolve to that point to where they're going to start running unless that spot ETF happens. And nobody knows the day. We're hearing all these projections, but I can guarantee you one thing, it's going to happen. It was a lawsuit that was that determined that the SEC had to approve the spot ETFs, but it didn't say when. So we're going to see a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market. Our miners are going to move. Crypto is going to move. And all we have to do is be patient and position ourselves with enough time. And I think you talked about time earlier today. Either it could be your best friend or your worst enemy. So you have to know how to be strategic in it. And I look at every investment as a game of chess, right? You're having to watch what market makers are doing, where the volume is, what your Greeks are in your play. And you have to strategically put
Those are
your
your pieces
in
on the
play.
board.
Yeah.
So
But it's small things to a giant, man. We're built for this. We've been teaching this now for a couple of years. You taught me the game, and I'll never forget that motivated me to go a little bit deeper because my first option trade I lost.
yeah,
And
most people do.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's what makes us better. It's those L's are lessons, but they turn into millions.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, and I always use basketball as an analogy. I play basketball. I still play for fun though. But if you take anybody, I don't care who they are, and you take them to a basketball court and you let them shoot a shot, they're gonna miss that first shot.
Yeah, I know I will.
Anybody, but like never play basketball court. 98% of people are gonna miss the shot. Why could you expect somebody to make a shot?
Yeah.
They don't know. They never shot a ball. They don't know how much it weighs. They don't know how much effort it needs to get it up there. So they're gonna miss. That doesn't mean they're bad at basketball. They just haven't had the experience yet. Right? Then they shoot another one. They get better. They get stronger. Their tolerance gets better, and pretty soon they start going in.
Absolutely.
And that's how trading is. Right? That's what we do. Is that At first, it may not work. Sometimes it does. Some people are just good naturally. LeBron probably was scoring from the beginning. He's a natural athlete, but he's also very smart and very hard worker. So all that together made him a great player. Jordan too.
Kobe.
But most people are not gonna. It's gonna take some time and effort. But you can be a great investor as well. So one thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the more stock market, right? Is that there's been a lot of predictions that, and after that we want to take some questions from you guys before we go. I don't want it. It's snowing outside, so I don't want to get you guys trapped in the snow. I'm probably gonna be trapped here, but it's worth the sacrifice to get the information.
Right. Absolutely.
But like I said, is that the market is projected to reach all-time highs this year.
Yes.
And it's several reasons to that. Is that the market ended in an upcycle. They're preparing to cut the rates 4 to 6 times. And when that means there's easy money. A lot of people don't understand this, is that the rate, how many people understand that the rates are used for mortgages? Almost everybody, right? But the rates are also used for when businesses want to borrow money. So the lower the rates, the more money the businesses can use or borrow, and the more they can expand, grow, and continue their operations. So this causes economic expansion, which has caused the stock market to go up, which is predicted in 2024, which we're in right now. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
It's crazy that they believe that it was already priced in for the past 9 weeks. And now we're seeing a correction from that already being priced in because more inflationary data is coming out, right? We just had the jobs report on Friday and we saw the market went completely bearish, but it also was flat too. It dropped and picked back up. So this week, as we get into CPI and PPI, that's going to be critical for the market on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Whatever happens on those 2 days really is going to tell us what's going to happen with the Fed.
Say it again.
So I think it's Wednesday and Thursday. You got the CPI, which is your core price index, and you have your PPI, your producer price index. Once those two pieces of data come out this week, it's going to tell us or give us a gauge as to whether or not the Fed will really be cutting rates at all this year. Right now, it's projected that they may do it, but it's still no guarantee. Still no guarantee. But inflation has come down, but we're not seeing it in goods. We're not seeing it in our mortgages or our home purchases. We still got a lot more data to come out this year before they could actually do something about it. Now, if crypto goes crazy, I think that they're still going to keep doing status quo.
I'm pretty sure. I think 24 is going to be one of the most. Like I said, I think 24 is one of the biggest potentials I've ever seen in my life. And like I said, it's so many ways to make money, so many ways that the market is almost telling us what it's going to do. That if you just focus for the next year, I don't want to say anything about bachata, but if you just don't bachata,
I was thinking about doing a dance before we got on the stage. Yes,
I just say that 'cause I don't know why I just start talking about that. Like I was just thinking about it for some reason. I said it. People started laughing, so I kept saying it. But I don't have nothing against bachata. I used to. It's okay. But back to what I was saying is that if we just focus this year, there's a great year ahead for all of us. And there's a lot of opportunities out there in markets, right? And I like this type of income because it's passive.
absolutely.
Right? Passive income is the best income. And it's not because people say it or it's a cliche. It's because you don't have to work for it. And if you read my book, Strategic Millionaire, I think one of the last laws is to be lazy. I'm not saying, of course, be lazy. I wasn't lazy, but I'm saying you have to think lazy. You have to think, how can I make money without working? It sounds lazy, but it's not. And I'm telling you why. It's because you only got so many hours in a day. And every hour you use to make $1 an hour you don't have. So all your money is being made in markets and in investments and real estate. And you think, I got to remove myself from these equations. I may have an Airbnb, but I got to pay somebody to clean it. Me going over there and cleaning it myself takes time for me thinking up new plays. All of that. So you have to think like you're lazy. Even Bill Gates said he'd rather hire a lazy engineer than the one that works hard. People were shocked when he said that in the 90s.
Wow.
He said it because he said a lazy engineer finds innovative solutions that are easier, faster. And you know, with code is the longer your code is, the more maintenance and efforts you have to do later on. So a lazy engineer would just make short, efficient code because he didn't want to go back and fix it later.
Wow.
So he actually was a better coder. And Bill Gates would only hire lazy developers. So I use that, apply that thinking to what we're doing now. 24 is the perfect year for you to build up passive investment through stocks, real estate, crypto, whatever you want to do. But it's a year that's not going to happen in our lifetime, probably for people that are over 30. Probably not going to happen again until we're old or either we're gone.
And one thing that everybody has to remember too, that came from The Richest Man in Babylon. I don't know if anybody's ever read that book, but it said, remember that 1/10 of everything that you have coming in is for yourself.
Yeah.
And put that away. That's part of practicing risk management. And he said, over time, of course, you'll have more. But what happened was once he learned that strategy from the man that told him that, the man on his deathbed had asked him about if he had listened. He said, yes, I did. He said, I want to tell you, I put you in my will. So this man went from having nothing by listening to someone and that provided good advice to where he would always have a little bit more than he had before, and ended up becoming the wealthiest man in Babylon. So always remember to put a little bit back just for yourself in case of emergency, and be patient. And I think that's the hardest thing that we face today because so much is convenient, right? Make patience your superpower into 2024.
The nice thing I want to talk about before we open the floor to questions is that Warren Buffett said that one time. He said, everybody said, why don't you tell people how to get rich? You obviously figured it out. He said, I could, but nobody wants to hear the story on how to get rich slow. They want to hear how to get rich fast. Nobody even sits down and listens to me. That's what he said one time.
Yeah.
The people don't even want to listen to Warren Buffett. He's going to tell you a plan over 10 years.
Mhm.
I don't want to do that. I can get it tomorrow. They won't even listen. But let's get that mic. So any questions from you guys? Is that mic on?
It's on. Okay. What's your question?
My question is, with the ETF approval and the horizon, do you think the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin is going to continue, or will it be completely dismantled?
So the thing about the ETF the ETF approval is actually part of the 4-phase cycle, right? Accumulation phase. That's when the rich, the leading the banks create investments, infrastructure so they can profit on the next cycle. That's part of it. If it wasn't ETF, it would have been something else. You know, it would have been something so they can profit off of it. But what I think your other point of your question is that what's going to happen into the future? ETFs, what an ETF is going to do, in my opinion, is that at first you're going to see a steep drop up in Bitcoin's price, 2013, soon after it's approved. But what an ETF does long term, and this is why I say this is the last cycle that there's incredible profits available to be made. An ETF over time, right now, Bitcoin is the exchanges that monitor the price of Bitcoin. There's thousands of them. You go to CoinMarketCap, look at the price of Bitcoin. That price is just all the other prices aggregated into one price.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way really for me to say this is the true price of Bitcoin right now. It's just, we got every exchange has a different, they're close within $1 or $2 from others, but they're all different. But that causes volatility, right? Because there's so many points that it could be, one site could drop it, then the price can move. So the price does move a lot. But with an ETF, we got one central place, we know the price. What's going to happen to all those exchanges? They're all going to match up to that ETF price. Because now they know what the price is. And the players in those marketplaces, they know this is the real price of Bitcoin. So all those, what the volatility or differences between all of those exchanges are going to reduce almost to zero. That's going to bring the volatility down. That's going to bring the long-term volatility of Bitcoin down. And that's why I say this is the last cycle where there's going to be big gains. Bitcoin is going to go up a lot this time. And I don't know if it's going to drop down or whatever. I think it probably will drop. We won't see those big gains because of the ETF.
I think that support level is going to be really high.
That's
I think
what
once it gets at 61,000, I think it's going to be a huge level of support.
But the ETF has good and bad sides. It's not bad. Actually, to be honest, for Bitcoin to be for our long-term plans to work, for Bitcoin to be a true currency, it has to, nobody wants a volatile. How are you going to pay or store that? Nobody wants, imagine getting paid in Bitcoin. It's getting less volatile now, but it's down 4%, up 6%.
Yeah.
Who's going to, hey, you had $600 paid yesterday, now it's down to $400. Nobody wants to get paid Bitcoin, to be honest. You're going to invest in it. If I want to get paid in it, I would, but most people won't. And even with like hedge funds have a problem. They have two problems. They have hedge funds and investment funds is that they don't want you to lose too much money. Because of course you're going to be mad, but they don't want you to make too much either. And you know why? It's because it's the same reason as when it drops, is that if I give you let's say $1,000, let's say $100,000 into a hedge fund, it drops to 80. I'm mad. Should I sell? Because are you a bad hedge fund manager? What if it goes up 30% overnight? Well, you got another decision to make. Should I get out? People don't want no decisions. They just want a steady 7%, 8% gain, especially the richer you are, the less decisions you want to make. So those rich people want a steady gain of 7, 8% over time. So they don't want the worst thing that could happen to a lot of people is all of a sudden their 401k is going 50% in one day. You know how many people will be panicking at work? Because they don't know, they'll be happy, but they also will be having anxiety. Yeah. Should I sell? Is it going to drop? They don't want that. Nobody really wants that. Not regular main retail investors. They just want something that goes up slow. And that's what's going to Bitcoin will eventually be. But that's when it's a high grade asset or an investment grade asset when it's slow gains. And that's the long-term future of Bitcoin. Right now, we can take advantage of this volatility over the next year or two.
All right. Thank you. Can we get a question over here? Anyone have a question on this side? No, no
No
questions. Oh,
question.
yes. Okay, we have one here.
Yes.
What are the airdrops and do you recommend it?
Yeah, airdrops, what he's talking about is that sometimes it could be multiple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons people do airdrops is that a token will be released or people want to draw attention. They'll use what is called as an airdrop to draw attention or an advertising mechanism. What that means is that for anybody that has like an Ethereum wallet, right? They'll just send you a little bit of their token. And some people got rich off of that. Just luckily have a wallet. And I remember I had wallets back at 17 and just magically thousands of dollars showed up in each one. I sold it and just made money for nothing. That's an airdrop. Right? And they do this because a token is just being released. They're trying to draw attention on itself. And they do this. The more people using this coin, the more attention they get. Like Bonk was one. Yeah. And everybody's talking about Bonk now.
And you got to be quick on those. Like I went in on the CNC about that the other day. I do not like them. I don't like airdrops. It's quick, but again, I have this mentality: if it happens fast, it won't last. So as quick as it goes up is as quick as I'm pulling it out.
Yeah. So if you do luckily get one or been part of one, you probably want to. I've never seen one that lasted because remember what an airdrop is trying to do, and I agree with you, Mark, is that what an airdrop is trying to do is create value through attention. Attention is short lived. So once I send out a bunch of money, all you guys are happy. You tell your friends that you got a Mondo coin or whatever. And then that may last for a while and your friends hear about whatever, but there's no underlying value. So eventually it all collapses. I've never seen a lot. It may have been one that I'm unaware of, but every airdrop I've ever seen has failed long-term, almost all of them. But like I said, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means that you just have to understand that and you have a shorter time frame. That's what I think about airdrops.